What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. My name is Doug. I'm so happy to see you guys here again today, where we are going to be doing my final thoughts, giving my final thoughts on Modus Vivendi by 070. And by the way, it was confirmed to me by somebody who was from New Jersey that it is 070. 070 Shake. Apparently it's the zip code, and that's how they say it in New Jersey. So I'm just gonna keep calling her 070 Shake because that's what I've always called her, and I got that confirmation. So you guys can call it what you want to, though. I'm just joking when I say that that's the right way to do it. Yeah, I'm gonna be giving my final thoughts on this project. It's actually very, very enjoyable. I do have some different opinions on some of the songs, I believe. Definitely got some more in-depth opinions now. I'm a little bit more informed. I've listened to it a few more times for sure. Still have some of the same opinions as my first reaction, where I consider some of the music still to be better as background music. But we're gonna go into the details, into the nitty-gritty, and I'm just really excited because I promised you guys this video a little while ago, and so I'm finally able to post it now. The next video I post will be the Circles final thoughts, so be sure to check that out after this one if you're willing to. And you guys know all the different ways you can support the channel, so I'm gonna just let you do your thing, and I'm gonna do my thing. So we're gonna get started. This is basically a list of the songs that I most enjoy off of the project. Forgive the background noise. As you guys know, there is a main street right here. I'm gonna be doing the same thing I did for the Eminem Final Thoughts video. I'm going to be showcasing more of the positives than the negatives, because I feel like on first listens, the negatives really shine through. The positives really shine through on subsequent listens. It's really easy to point all the negatives the first time around. So I'm going to be highlighting the more positive aspects of the project. I'm going to be listing the tracks that I most enjoyed, starting with Don't Break the Silence, right? The very first track, the introduction, it's got a beautiful atmosphere. The harmonies, the vocalizing, so ethereal, so dark, so hypnotizing. You know, it puts you in kind of like a trance. It pulls you right into this project and immediately just opens the doors to what is really an entire universe of ethereal sounds and synths and strings and electronic, drum programming and beautiful 070 Shake vocals and things like that. Immediately sets the tone. I think it's a brilliant introduction for that reason. It's got similar themes to the next track, which has Come Around. And the theme is that it showcases 070 Shake's necessity of having this person around, of having them close to her. And speaking of Come Around, it is the next track that is on my list. I really enjoy it. It's an exciting song, in my opinion. It's got a lot of epic vibes, some very laid-back percussion, not a whole lot of drums. And it really just builds up. And I mentioned this on my first listen, it builds up into what eventually is the climax in the third song, which is Morrow, which I think is really interesting. Morrow is the next track that is on my list here, and the fact that I almost never listen to it by itself says something to me. I always try as best as I can to listen to the first two tracks before I ever want to put Morrow on, because I feel like both of the first two tracks kind of lead into it really beautifully. The first track is very, very laid back. The second track is kind of like it's got a more energetic vibe to it, but it's still not extremely energetic. It's got a really nice build up. And Morrow is the one that's got the heavy drums. It's got like the drop. It almost feels like the epic conclusion of the first two tracks. So these three are kind of like a package deal in my opinion. I really listen to all of them together, because I really feel like they round each other out very, very nicely. Morrow's beat has a really classic Kid Cudi, Kanye West vibe. It reminds me a little bit of Yeezus. It's also got some Life of Pablo elements as well, because it's very electronic in nature. It's got a whole lot of heavy, gritty synths. And the pads in the background just add a huge, spacey atmosphere to the track that I think is really enjoyable. The next track on my list is the interlude, It's Forever. It's a great little intro to the track that comes after it, Rocket Ship, which is why I kind of included it. It's really such a short track that it doesn't really stand alone. But since it's part of Rocket Ship, I decided to put it in the list. I like that it also resurfaces in the latter portions of Rocket Ship as well. The actual sample itself comes back. I think that was really nice. It was a really nice use of the sample. And I like the vibe. I like the sample itself, the really soulful chorus and the vocals. They sound so old school and really nice and fuzzy, kind of got that vinyl feel to it. It's just really warm. A nice intro to Rocket Ship, which is the next track on my list. And Rocket Ship has some very interesting synths going on, but what really keeps me invested in this track is 070 Shake's melodies. They're what really keep me coming back to this track instead of just listening to it passively as background music. You know, this is more of an active listen in that I'm paying attention to what's going on. I come back to it specifically for the vibes. I come back to it specifically outside of the track list and not just listening to it in the context of the project because of the melodies that 070 Shake, I'm gonna just call her Shake, is singing. I think that they're fun, they're catchy, they have some bleep bloop rocket ship sounds going on. The production matches the vibe of the track very, very nicely. The theme of the song, very nicely. I like some of the over-the-top melodies that are going on, the keys, you know, they're very nice. Very effective at setting a tone, setting a mood. Like Travis Scott's Astroworld, where every song really feels like a roller coaster ride. This almost feels like you're in a rocket ship heading, blasting off into outer space with 070 Shake by your side. You know, so I think that that is also very nice about this track. Specifically the portions in this song where she harmonizes the word forever, that's my favorite portion of the track. I think that the vocalizing and the harmonies are beautiful. I think that they really make for a very pleasant listen. I'm just gonna brush over Divorce and The Pines. I don't really have a whole lot of love for them. They're easy enough to sit through as passive listens, as background music. You know, something about The Pines never really having a drop gives me a little bit of anxiety. It keeps me very tense throughout the entire listen, and I don't ever feel like that tension is released at any point in the same way that I feel like the tension from Come Around was released in Morrow. I don't really feel like I get that tension released. It kind of switches up into a whole different vibe on Guilty Conscience, and so something about just that build-up of the tension and never getting any satisfying release, you know, it just kind of makes me not really enjoy the song as much or come back to it. Same thing goes for Divorce. I'm just not a huge fan of the very strange bongos. I really think that's the only way to describe it. It's got a very strange percussion, very strange rhythm. That's just not very appealing to me. But like I said, we're highlighting the positives, and so I'm going to be skipping over those two to really focus on Guilty Conscience, because this is, by the way, the certified hit off this project, in my opinion. It's the song that I can't stop singing. It's the song that my wife can't stop singing. It's the one track that she really clung to off of this project, and she repeats it all the time. Same goes for me. It's got a very different vibe from the other songs in that it really reminds us of an 80s kind of pop ballad, really. Sounds like it's going to end up on a bunch of romantic comedy soundtracks and things like that. The production, the melodies, the actual performance, the melodies that Shake actually sings, and not just the melodies going on in the beat, all of that just give us that really nostalgic, like 80s pop, Michael Jackson, Prince era, you know, that whole vibe. And I think that it's just so special coming from this track on this project at this point. Microdosing is another one of the songs whose hook actually gets really stuck in my head, and I really held on to it. It kind of just keeps repeating in my head a whole lot. It's got such a fun rhythm to it. I sing it all the time around the house. Really specifically that little hook. I think that it was brilliant in its execution in that I really cannot get it out of my head since I first heard it. The percussion in the beat is very fun. Very nice little rhythm to it. The distorted synths, it sounds like an acoustic guitar, but it's got an amp on it, so it might actually be an electric guitar, and I really just don't know. I don't know why, but I have this feeling that it's an acoustic guitar with an amp on it. The distorted synths, the guitar, and the strings going on in the background make for such a nice atmosphere. They're beautiful, they're very pleasant, easy on the ears. They keep me coming back to the track, as well as that really catchy hook. And I just think that it's a really easy track to listen to. Definitely one of my favorites. One of the ones that I come back to specifically in the track list. And yeah, I have to mention Nice to Have, because it is, I think, the next song in the track list, but it's not one of my favorites. I kind of find it a little boring, to be honest. The minimal production kind of makes it a very nice background track. It's easy to listen to when I'm doing other things. For example, I was listening to the project and washing dishes, and I had it in the background. I wasn't actively listening to it, and it was really nice background music. It was really nice production, had a nice vibe to it, but it's not really one that I feel like coming back to specifically in the track list. Under the Moon, though. Under the Moon has a really nice soft rock kind of vibe that I really enjoy. It also kind of reminds me of Kid Cudi and Speeding Bullet to Heaven, some of the songs off of Man on the Moon 2. You know, the epic synths, which is something that I'm going to be mentioning a lot because she really makes use of it in her production and in her style. The harmonies, they keep me invested all the way throughout the entire song, which is something that some of these other tracks had a little bit of difficulty with. You know, they would start off strong and then get a little boring, or they would start off boring and pick up a little bit towards the middle, but by then they had already lost me. So I feel like this one was consistent all the way through. It's one of the reasons I enjoyed it as well. And then we get Daydreaming, which isn't really too appealing to me. I can understand why people might like it. It's got the really loud 808s. It's got the Yeezus-esque, like, chaotic energy to it. And there are some times where I really like that vibe, and there are some certain songs that execute it really well that I gravitate to, but for some reason this just wasn't really doing it for me. The synths during the chorus are probably my favorite portion of it, and that's mostly the reason why sometimes I'll just let it play through in the background. Because I find those to be the most enjoyable portion. But I just think the verses are kind of mid, you know, to be honest. Terminal B, it's got some positives to it, but I do think it does go on for a little bit too long. And it's one of those tracks that can start off a little strong and then lose me a little bit of the way through. It start daydreaming and drifting off. It's got a very nice ambience to it. It's got a really nice atmosphere. The ethereal melodies, you know, they keep me interested for the majority of the track, I'd say. So I think it's okay. Could be a little shorter. The intro could be not so drawn out, as well as that outro. But for the most part, it's not a bad track. And the last song is a fitting closer, I think, for this project, Flight 319. It's got a very nice little fun, bouncy vibe to the drums. Shake's flow is really nice. The strings are bright and vibrant. For the most part, again, I think that the chorus is what really keeps me coming back and returning to the song specifically. I love the harmonies, I love the singing, I love the performance, and I think that really the standout thing on this project for me is 070 Shake's choruses and the melodies that she sings and the hooks that she writes. They're really what keep me coming back. It's the most exciting portion of the song. It's where all the instruments come in, and you know, that's really what I gravitate to on a lot of these songs. I think that some of the songs that she did could have done with a little bit less drawing out, if that makes any sense. They could have done with a little bit less time in the actual runtime of the tracks. Some of the portions of these songs definitely need a little bit more production to make them more interesting. There needs to be some tension released at some point after the Pines, I think. And those are just things that I think could have been done to improve this project a little bit. I still find it to be a very enjoyable listen. It's definitely deserving of a 7 to a 7.5, I believe. I personally would give it a 7.5, just because even the songs that I don't really like, I can still easily listen to in the background and not be completely turned off by them. So I'm gonna give this a 7.5. I think that's a fair rating. Very enjoyable listen. I'm very happy with it. 7.5 is a great rating, actually. It's not incredible, but it definitely is not mediocre at all. And yeah, guys, I don't know. Those are kind of my thoughts on this project. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm gonna go sit in front of a fan. And yeah, like I said, thank you for watching. I will be back in another video very soon with the Circle's final thoughts. And until then, guys, stay safe. Peace out.